Welcome to the Shed and Shine podcast. I am Gino Wickman. This is where Rob Dube and I help driven entrepreneurs shed their shit, free their true selves, unlock true entrepreneurial freedom, and shine. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and we hope to make a huge impact on you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Dube, and I am back here with Gino Wickman. Gino, it is great to see you again.
You as well, my brother.
So on our last episode, we covered disciplines number 1 and number 2, 10-year thinking and take time off. Today, we're going to be discussing discipline number 3, know thyself, and discipline number 4, be still. So for you, the listener, in case you're wondering about the remaining 6 disciplines, you're going to hear them in the upcoming episodes. So stay tuned and listen in. So as I mentioned, discipline number 3 is know thyself. And as a reminder, I'm going to share what we call the bold statement, which means if you just did this one thing, that's all you'd have to do. So here it is. Be your true self 100% of the time, 24/7, 365. Okay, Gino, so with that in mind, I always love to throw it back to you for context, so that'll get us going for a conversation.
Absolutely. So contextually, what I would say here is this is all about being yourself, but you can't be yourself until you know thyself. And so knowing yourself is this journey of self-discovery. And I always like to say there's kind of levels or layers of depth that you can go to. And so at a very high level, it's starting to understand your skills and abilities. Those are really important, certainly very surface, very outer world focused. And then we can dig a little deeper and get into your personality and your traits, which is still kind of outer world focused, but we're starting to go a little deeper. Then getting into strengths and weaknesses, same thing. And then ultimately getting into your blocks, getting into your inner working, going inside and starting to shed stuff. And that's obviously the powerful inner world stuff. And as you already said, our goal for you is that you are letting your freak flag fly.
Everyone laughs when they hear that. I love
know,
that.
that's why I love saying it so much.
I know. It's so great. So, one of the things I notice clients, when I work with them in the group coaching, one-to-one, the mastermind, they will talk about how they are able to adapt very well in different situations, almost like a chameleon. And it's something they're proud of. And it creates a little bit of confusion in terms of this discussion about knowing thyself, because is being a chameleon your true self? I was just thinking about that, and I'm wondering what comes to mind for you when I say that.
Yeah, it's funny because it's the first thing that I wrote down and that came to my mind, because I'm also reminded of one of our students that mentioned, she said it, I wish I could remember her exact words, but, she basically said, I'm not going to be the same person I am with my kids than I am with my coworkers. And I can't remember the analogy, but it's like we can combine any aspect of your life in that statement. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of should be. So I really think that's what this is about. Is it starts with awareness and just being about understanding who you really are and being that in all aspects. And I certainly won't share the surprise birthday party story because it's in the book. We've talked about it. But again, my awareness there was I was 6 different people in my life at 30 years old. And it was exhausting. And so worst case, let's pretend in that woman's case, you're going to be somebody different for your kids. Okay, I'll give on that. Please be the same person for the other 5 factions, because 6 different chameleons is a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting. And so now inner, outer benefits of this, look at what it's doing to your inner world, the energy that's being burned, just think of what your mind has to do to be that personality for that faction and that personality for that faction. It's just exhausting. And it's such an opportunity, again, to take your energy through the roof, just being one person
Yeah.
and not having to work so hard.
I kept thinking about exhausting, and you took the words right out of my mouth, because this is, if you were curious about how this helps you to manage and maximize your energy, this is it. It's exactly what Gino just said. And, I know I thought I'd share a little bit about what I was thinking about inner world. And, when you're able to come back to you, your true self, awareness of that is so freeing, and the rest doesn't matter. You don't have to care about what other people think in certain situations. And again, that's managing and maximizing your energy. And I also think people are genuinely more attracted to you. Not that you're necessarily looking for that, but they will be, because they can feel your energy,
Yeah.
and that it's just so authentic. And you love people with authentic energy, and they love people with authentic energy too. Does anything,
It's so
anything there
funny.
for you?
We're so in sync, because you're like taking the words out of my mouth, because then I'm sitting here thinking, if I were to describe like the ultimate inner world benefit and the outer world benefit of knowing thyself, and again ultimately being thyself, the inner world benefit is a comfort. So what's happening when we're not comfortable in our own skin and letting our freak flag fly, we're insecure. We're constantly thinking about the judgment of others, or how are they going to act? What are they going to think? So all of a sudden, for that to no longer happen, for you not to have to anticipate, worry about, or even think about what somebody's going to think of you, just look at that energy, and that comfort of just being in your own skin. In the outer world, it's exactly what you just said there. You're going to attract more people to you that are authentic. And so you being you, now all of a sudden, look at the relationships in your life. You're attracting the family members that you want to attract, the friends you want to attract, the employees you want to attract. And so you're just surrounded by people in your life that you're just completely in sync, because you're just fully being you. And when your family, your friends, and your coworkers are all in sync, like-minded, rowing in the same direction, you're going to make a bigger impact on the world. You're
Yeah.
going to have more outer world success. How can you not?
Yeah. So, you mentioned kind of at the outset, there's different ways to know thyself better. And, I think about the idea that this is an ongoing thing for all of us. At least that's the way I think, but I don't know. Is it? At any point, can we stop? Like, I'm exhausted getting to know myself, know thyself. Can I just like take a break?
Well, it's what I jotted down here. It's really funny. Again, I just feel like we're so in sync on this. And so I wrote down get curious, and then I wrote fascination. So it's like, for me, all I can do is speak from my experience, and I have not gotten exhausted with knowing myself. So I can't speak from somebody who's like, okay, I'm all done knowing myself, because the way I look at it, for what this is worth, is it's growth, and I am a grower. I am a person who wants to grow, stretch, learn, reach. I'm more comfortable with the discomfort of growing than, the feeling, just satisfied where I am, so it's
Yeah.
like that. I choose that. So it's hard for me to answer from that standpoint, but that's why these two words I think are so important. If you just simply got curious about yourself, if you just simply became fascinated with understanding yourself, because it's as much the good stuff as, for lack of a better term, the bad stuff. That's not the right word to use,
So true.
but to really start to understand, wow, that's why I react in that situation every time, to understand why you do that, the root of why that happened, and to go to that root and shed that, solve that, come to peace with that, forgive that, whatever it is, that thing stops. I mean, it like instantly you forget why it even came up in the first place. And so it's just this awareness, this consciousness, this presence about just understanding yourself. It's not being self-centered, it's not being conceited, it's not putting all the focus on you, but it's just a curiosity about, why do I do these things that I do? And there's a great term I keep hearing over and over these last probably 2, 3, 4 years, and it's just see life as it is. And this is just being really honest with yourself about who you are in the world, because that's the other thing that happens. We make it up. We just make shit up about ourselves. It ain't real.
Yeah.
And so to see life as it is, to see you as you are, it can't not just keep getting better. So I think it's never ending. I think growth is never ending. I think there's no end to it. I think it's a matter of we just keep expanding if we're willing to. And to me, that's a blast. So maybe I'm an
Expansion.
anomaly.
No, I'm right there with you. And I think many of our listeners are as well. I'm sure you are out there. That's probably why you're listening. I have one of my therapists always says to me, serious, not so serious. And I love that because, some of the things that when I'm recognizing what I'm doing, it's in some ways ridiculous and really humorous, but sometimes it needs to be very serious at the same time. So, have a sense of humor to a certain degree. And I think, Gino, one of the things you said that's really important is what about taking some time to go to the root of the really wonderful things that you do? Like, I think about, say like some traits that I feel like I gleaned from my grandmother, that I just am so grateful for, and it helps me show up in a more positive way. So this isn't all about all the bad things, so to speak, which really is anything bad. I don't even know.
Well, and on that, I'm so glad you said that, because that's, as important. I want to frankly say more important, but I think some shedding of some stuff that's holding you back is pretty
Yeah.
important. So I'm going to put them on equal footing. But yes, to see the 1, 2, 3, 4 things about you that are your gifts to this world. Oh my God, the power of that. And again, that's just be curious, be fascinated,
Yeah.
seek to know thyself. And yes, see, again, not the best words to choose, the good and the bad in you. And then there's one last thought that comes to mind for me, and I just have so much fun with this. But in my late 20s, that's when I discovered I was an introvert. Okay. And every time I tell somebody I'm an introvert, they say, oh, there's no way you're an introvert. And the point I'm making here, and the example of this is I am so at peace with being an introvert. And many people view introversion as, a weakness, a bad thing, a shortcoming, or whatever. And it's not true at all. So some of us are extroverts, some of us are introverts. But I take such comfort now in knowing my introversion that when it gets that reaction, for the first 10 years, I used to feel very defensive, like I needed to defend that. Well, knowing that about myself, I can now embrace that. I know where I get my energy, which is going inside. I know the many traits of the introvert, and so I just fully embraced it. And as a result of that, my energy just goes through the roof, because it's just another example in a way of I'm just being me, and don't apologize. So unapologetically,
Unapologetic. I
I
love it.
let my freak flag fly.
Okay, very good. And you said one last thing. Is there any other last thing that you want to share?
I think we've
That
covered
was the
everything from my
lastest of the
standpoint.
last thing. Okay,
The last
cool,
of the
cool.
last.
All right, so let's move on to discipline number 4, be still. So always starting with the bold statement, which is sit in silence for 30 minutes every day. So Gino, back to you, context, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and this is just the age old sharpen the saw or sharpen the axe. As the story goes, when we're chopping the tree down, if we take a break from time to time and we sharpen that saw, we sharpen that axe, and then get back to chopping or cutting, you will cut the tree down faster. And so it's sharpening the saw, sharpening it's just simply taking that breather. I love how someone said it to me recently, which is you got to stop from time to time and let your soul catch up. And so there's just great
Love that.
power in just stopping. And we want to get you to 30 minutes, but you can start with 10. Just if 30 is daunting, just take 10 and see the benefits, and then go to 11 minutes and 12 minutes and 15 and then 20 and then 30. But just try it on, because when those tectonic plates, when that central nervous system calms, the magic happens. All these wonderful words we've been saying: creativity, inspiration, energy. You see things better, you make better decisions. Very, very powerful.
And all those things are what helps you to manage and maximize your energy. So now we share 4 ways to be still, but there's countless others. Find the ones that work best for you. The 4 are prayer, meditation, contemplation, and journaling. And, one of the things, Gino, in knowing you for so many years, I've been able to kind of hear about and witness how your Be Still routine has changed a little bit over the years. It's really cool. I actually love your routine now, and I share it with so many people when I teach the classes. Can you talk about how you go about your Be Still routine?
Yeah, for sure. But contextually, I want to make this point because I
Yeah.
appreciate you pointing out the fact that mine keeps changing and evolving because somebody gave me some advice about 2 years ago that was so freeing for me. And she was talking to me, but I can't be alone out there. And what she said to me is she said, you know, the person that you are, you need to change it up from time to time. And so I really love that freedom to sometimes I just feel like I need to change it up for whatever reason. Now, again, it's all about stillness, and it's still roughly 30 minutes. I do about 3 to 5 times a week. So I try every day, but 3 to 5, I get a lot of benefit out of. And the current practice for me is I sit in a big, comfortable chair in my office. I start by grounding myself, take a few deep breaths. I kind of clear my space. I then settle in. My brain races for 10 minutes, and then it seems to calm down right around that point. And for the next 20 minutes, I basically watch the show. And so that's kind of it. And sometimes there are fireworks and sometimes there's nothing, but there's no question all those benefits happen. But I will say this because something's kind of evolving more for me here. And about a year and a half ago, I learned about lying meditations where you could actually lie down and actually do a meditation. And I found that odd or hard to believe, but I started doing some of that with great benefit. And
Oh,
so in
interesting.
those 3 to 5, I will now intersperse them. Um, and sometimes I will do it in the middle of the night. If I happen to wake up in the middle of the night, right there in bed, I will go through a process and I will have a meditative experience that is quite powerful. And then following it immediately, I sleep better. But so I'm kind of tinkering with something new and I might be evolving again, but I'm incredibly fond of the big comfy chair. That's the primary right now, but those are some examples. I'm
Uh,
also starting to incorporate a little bit of journaling, a little bit of contemplation, but that's kind of up and over. I went through this journaling phase that was really productive. Other than that, I really struggle with journaling. The closest thing I come to journaling is sitting with a legal pad and a pen in a Starbucks, and I'll write some good stuff there. But no, there's some examples of how I do it. So
that's
many
so
ways,
good. Yeah,
so
so
many
many good
books,
ways.
so many apps. I mean, there are literally 10,000 different ways out there. So you got to choose the one that works best for you.
Yeah, if it's hard, one thing that I like to share with people, and it's helpful for many, is just get out a pad of paper and start writing things you're grateful for, no matter how big or small. It doesn't matter. And that can just get you going. And the next thing you know, you might have 5 or even 10 minutes that have gone by if you just let it go and let it go. So there you go. You're kind of easing your way into being still. I mean, you are being still when you do that. And then you might put the pad of paper down and just sit and follow your breath for a little bit. And, maybe another 10 minutes will go by, maybe even 20. So those are some things to think about. I always like to share anytime I get an opportunity to share my favorite quote, I have to do it. It's from Anne Lamott. And she says, "My mind is like a bad neighborhood. I try to never go there alone." And sometimes I wonder why it's hard for people, myself included, to sit down because what's coming. When you sit down, everything's going to rush to the top. Your subconscious is saying, don't go sit. Keep
Mhm.
busy. Like, we don't want any of that right now.
Uh,
So,
yeah, and I would ask Rob of
yeah.
you if you could just quickly share your meditation routine, just so our audience is hearing, a couple variations.
Sure. So when I wake up, I meditate for 45 minutes and then I journal for 10. And then before in my meditations is simple focus on my breath, bringing attention to my thoughts, and then coming back to the present moment, which I use my breath as an anchor. And then I do that same type of meditation and journaling in the evening for 20 minutes. So 20-minute meditation and then about a 5-minute journaling, kind of reflecting on the day and moments of gratitude. So there's another way you can do it. So, the other thing I just wanted to ask you about, Gino, is shedding layers. when you're being still. So what are your thoughts and experiences there?
Yeah, for sure. And this we could go 30 minutes into. So I'm going to try and give
Totally.
a
Yeah.
3-minute version and then hold me to task that we don't go too deep into this, because we've certainly talked a lot about shedding layers in previous episodes. So if you haven't listened to those, go back to those. But as we go into this, I want to hit an inner outer world benefit. And if you have anything to add, please do. But I just like the greatest inner world benefit, which is kind of obvious, but it's peace and calm. If you want more peace and calm in your life, in addition to, again, the incredible energy spike, this is an amazing discipline for increasing your inner peace, inner calm. Outer world benefit is you just make better decisions. All of a sudden, you start with this kind of inside out approach to the world. When you sit in stillness, your true self takes over, your soul takes over, and you just start making better decisions in business, in your life, and then you can just do the math on the impact and what that does for you. So with that said, with shedding, I want to start with a mini context on this and maybe go a little back and forth with you on this. But, basically what happens to your exact point, but you mentioned your subconscious doesn't want you to, your ego also doesn't want you to sit in stillness. And so it's your ego that's fighting you, saying, do not do this. Because yes, when you are still, in all forms of stillness that we suggest, stuff is going to come up. And the way that it comes up is it's a feeling, a sensation, an emotion, and it's not pleasant sometimes. And so sometimes you will feel something in your stomach, you'll feel something in your chest, other places in your body, but those are the two biggies for me. And what I have learned for me is when it's in my chest, it's something about the past. When it's in my stomach, it's something about the future. And so I'm able to kind of zero in, but here's the beauty. You don't have to know what it is. What you have to understand is that sometime in your life in the past, you stuffed something down. You had an experience that was not pleasant and you stuffed it down. And your ego is so masterful. It has buried in there so deep that it's impossible for you to see it. Well, it comes up in stillness, and it comes up with as much pain as it went down. And so the idea is just to let it come up and process it. And there are times when it will process in a minute. On average, it's 90 seconds. But then there are some that take days, and there are some that are so painful you need to go get some professional help, maybe some therapy, whatever it is, because you've got some really big stuff in there. But the point is, when you practice stillness, stuff's going to come up. These are beautiful opportunities for you to shed pain, to realize more bliss, more peace, more enjoyment in your life. And so let it happen.
Let it happen. I mean, you'll be even more lighter and you'll have even more clarity in your life. It's so true. Okay, Gino. Anything else on your mind with this one?
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind is, so we teach an exercise called the True Self exercise. There is a podcast episode from the past. If you've not done the exercise or listened to the episode, please do so. But the reason I share that is that came to me in a meditation, and it took me to the root of one of my biggest fears and helped me shed it, which was being alone. But also getting to know me. And so in that meditation, everything from my life went away. And it was in this big circle around me, but it was no longer in my life. And a lot of learning and healing came from that. And, so wherever that came from, I always lovingly like to say, when it came from nowhere, it came from somewhere. So wherever that came from, it came. So and thank God we're teaching that to the world, because that exercise has been
impactful. Yeah, please go to that episode, the True Self exercise episode. Yeah.
So the point is just some really cool stuff comes up. Painful, scary, cool, good insights. I don't know how it works, but when you really get to that place of stillness, of consciousness, of presence, of awareness, your true self starts doing the talking, i.e. your soul starts doing the talking. And there's some really good wisdom in there that needs to be heard.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Gino. That was a great way to end this one. And it was so great seeing you again. And I can't wait to do this again very soon.
Right back at you, brother.
Thank you for listening in today. We truly appreciate you taking the time to spend with us, and please tune in for the next episode. Until then, if you'd like to see where you are on your true self journey, go to shedandshinepodcast.com to take the true self assessment and receive personalized guidance. If you're all ready to begin your inner world journey with Rob and myself, please join us for the next round of the 10 Disciplines group coaching program. We wish you all the best in freeing your true self. Stay focused and much love.